Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Mansfield Downtown Partnership Finance and Growth Committee to order for Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. We have a quorum. First of all, is there any public comment? I don't see anybody on the screen. We don't have anything in communication in writing or anything we need to acknowledge?
We did not receive anything, Tony.
Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of two sets of minutes from May 18th, 2022 and August 17th, 2022. Now the May 18th feels like a half a year ago, a decade ago. Would somebody please move to approve these two sets of minutes? Steve?
I'll move to approve both sets of minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, in noticing these meetings, there is one typo on the first page of the May 18th meetings, which is being corrected. There's a misspelling of Mr. Aylesworth's name, which is obviously a typographical error. So any other corrections or comments about the minutes? All those in favor of approving these minutes, please say aye or raise your hand or whatever. Okay, we're unanimous. All right, next item on the agenda is a review of the September 30th financials. This is the first quarter of the year, so there may be some money received if anybody pays their annuals in one lump, but it is unlikely that anything more than 25% of what is owed should be paid, so there shouldn't be anything too surprising here, except for on the Nash Zimmer account, there's an amount set aside for salaries that has not been paid anything out of. Cynthia, can you explain what that is?
So that was, if I'm remembering this correctly, that was previously for contracting for cleaning of Nash Zimmer. And so we switched that the end of last fiscal year. So that was probably in there before we made the switch. So it's now being done in-house by the town, one of the towns. Well, he specifically comes in for this building, but town custodian. So that is not coming out of the Nash Zimmer budget.
Oh, whose budget is it coming out of?
Facilities.
Okay. Do you pay a share for facilities?
Well, we pay rent on the building, and then
Right.
we do pay for IT, human resources and finance services. We don't pay specifically for facilities.
Okay. So that's a savings to the partnership of about $10,000.
So that never came out of the partnership budget. It came out of the transit services fund budget, which is,
Okay.
yeah.
Which is a town budget.
Right. So it's
Okay.
being absorbed in the facilities budget as far as I know.
Okay, good. That explains. That's the one weird looking thing that I saw. So you want to introduce these budgets to the rest of the group?
Yeah, I'll just, as you mentioned, there's not a lot since it was just the first quarter, and I apologize for not adding handwritten page numbers, but I will try to just go through this. So if you look at the memo from the interim director of finance, Sherry Trahan, under store center project analysis. So that was completely funded in the last fiscal year. So we no longer are getting that report. So the town has paid itself back, or paid for the cost overruns. Paid itself back, that's correct. And then I'm just gonna jump over to the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Again, this is, as Tony had mentioned, on a quarterly basis is when the town puts its contribution.
Cynthia, sorry,
Yep.
what page are you on?
Page 3.
Okay.
Well, it may not be page 3 in your packet because the minutes precede it.
right,
This is
so,
page 3
I-
of the finance statements.
yes, and I'm sorry, again, as I said, I forgot to put page numbers there. Did you find it, Shamim, or?
Yeah, which page are we on, the statement of revenues and
Yes.
expenditures? Okay.
Yes. So, as I said, the town puts its contribution in on a quarterly basis. That was changed a couple of years ago. We have UConn's contribution is already in there for the year. We start, I think everybody here knows this, we start our membership drive in January or February. So you're seeing a little bit, we have a couple of members, actually one, I think, who always pays in October. So that's probably a little bit of what you're seeing that's in there for the actuals. Insurance is also paid up front, so that's where you're seeing the 105%. It's a little bit over from what we budgeted. But I don't think there's anything else outstanding on that page. So the next page is our events. And so all our events are in the black.
But one quick question on the
Yes.
insurance. That's not health insurance, right? That's liability insurance?
So that's, it's property insurance, it's directors and officers insurance, and it's workers' comp.
Right, but it's not the health insurance.
Is
That's-
not health insurance, no.
Okay,
That'd be a heck of a deal on health insurance.
That is true,
I was just thinking of the percentages.
yeah. Anything else on that page before I move to the events page? Okay. So we will, so where you see expenditure budget, we will update that. So all our events for the calendar year will conclude in a couple weeks when we have winter welcome. So Kathleen and Denise, they generally do the event budget, so we will change that and send that to the finance department so that we have the budget for, you know, it crosses over our fiscal year, and that's just the way that it has to be because of, you know, our events are done on a calendar basis. So moving on to the town square project, and I think Steve and Tony and Ryan know this. Well, they might not, but anyway, so for Shamim's purposes, so we will be using some funds. Yes, I'm sorry, our 3 board members do know, using some funds out of this account to engage the Yukon Landscape Architecture Program on an inventory of our street infrastructure. So this is something that came out of our promotion and public spaces working group out of the strategic plan. So they'll be looking at, you know, what do we have now? So the red tables and chairs, the benches, the rockers, inventorying what we have, and then looking at a comprehensive palette of what we might want to have in the downtown. So one of the key areas that that we really feel that we need is some more shade on Betsy Patterson Square. So yeah, I see Shameen, shaking her head. You know, we lost the oak, that took away some shade. So we have a couple of different options that we've been looking at, but you know, under Sean Vasington's leadership, he thought engaging landscape architecture program would make sense. So the board approved $4,000 at its last board meeting earlier this month to engage them to do this for us, which is similar to what we paid 2 other engagements with the landscape architecture program over the last 10 years.
Cynthia, how well did the red tables and chairs fare?
You know, Josh and I did a count a while back. I haven't counted recently, but amazingly well. I mean, we've lost some, there's no doubt, mainly the chairs. The newer chairs we got are pretty heavy. They're not the easiest ones to, you know, drag around. So I've been very pleasantly surprised. Now, in terms of some of them are getting old, and that was part of Sean's, like, these are looking tired. But as far as people taking them, not that bad.
And they look very flimsy to me, so did anything break?
We had a couple break. We had like 1 or 2 break. The first round, which are the ones that have been there, you know, gosh, probably close to 8 years. A couple of them did. The older ones are more they look the same, but they are a different brand and they're sturdier. The chairs, at
Um,
least, the tables are about the same.
I'm just wondering, I know we've used student groups before, but do we ever do anything with that information?
So, yes, this will definitely be used for us to plan our budgeting for the furniture.
Mhm,
The first project was kind of an overall plan for the downtown. Most of these were led by former board member Kristen Schwab.
mhm.
The second one was also used for some of the work that was done in the Muya space. So those lights were definitely part of that program. And then the courtyard, once Kristen ended up, after she left the board, she and her business partner ended up doing that, but it was based on some of the concepts. So I wouldn't say that everything specifically in there was carried through, but a lot of it was, and a lot of the concepts of what we could do were carried through.
And does
That-
UConn give us a little discounted, I know it's a student group, but do they even reduce the cost a little bit more or?
I don't know. I mean, they charged us 3,000 each the last two times and 4,000. So this is actually going toward the students for kind of professional development. So for them to go to conferences,
Mhm.
to, take part in different networking events. So it kind of helps them with some travel and things like that.
The university probably donates the faculty time, actually, or the faculty.
Yes,
donate
I would,
faculty.
yes, and they are doing it as part of a class, 2 classes. So there'll be one class that'll do the inventory and another class that will do the actual plan.
Thank you.
This group of students has had much better results than the group that did our marketing plan.
Yeah, so we have engaged a different entity from UConn. Yes, I'll leave it at that. You're right, Tony. Yeah.
Yeah. And not that what they did was bad, it just never got used.
Yeah, it just wasn't quite what we needed to use to market.
Yeah.
Although we did use the first one a little bit. So way back when Dean Woods was here. And we have the Celebrate Mansfield Festival logo was done by a student group.
Okay, where else?
So I don't know if there's anything else, we have the parking garage or parking revenue between the garage and the ticket revenue. So that's listed here. We have unrelated, and of course, as soon as I say this, something's going to change, but we have not been filling up quite as much as we had been. So that's good news in terms of people coming in for the lunch hour. It takes a while to get some of the Oaks residents, even though they've been told to park above the nest. And so Laz has to, lock people out, tell them what they need to do. So there's a process that by October, people usually seem to get what they need to do, or they're not going to be able to get out.
Cynthia, I'm curious, the agreement that I think is in place between E.O. Smith and UConn that we kind of helped broker a little bit, the UConn small-ish parking lot, but I think there's like 60 some odd spaces there that EO now has, at least on a year-by-year basis, use of. So they went from, I think, having like something like 20 spots to 60 some odd. So it was like a net gain of, call it 40 or 45 spots. The hope was that that would pull some of the student longer-term parkers in the garage. Are we seeing that in practice?
It's a little unclear to me, Ryan, if they continued that this semester. I thought I heard that they did not. I'd
Okay,
have
well,
to drive over there and see if any of them are marked for E.O. Smith still, because
yeah, I guess I
thought
haven't
that
ground
might have
truth that.
ended.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I know, last I recall, which I'm not surprised by, UConn did not want to sign anything long-term, like multiple year. They were gonna do it kind of year by year, but I thought UConn gave some sort of official looking correspondence to EO saying that for this academic year, they still could use that lot, but maybe something did change and I just didn't hear anything back from Region 19, so.
Well, you're probably more up to date than I am. So if if that's the case, then,
Yeah.
you know, maybe that is kind of helping the situation.
Yeah, I mean, if we drove by the lot and it's like mostly empty, I think that would tell us the answer, because I'm sure if EO is using it, it would be full every day. So,
Well, maybe I can remember to
yeah,
to
or I
buy
could
there
too.
when I come in Friday.
I don't often bang a left down that road to check, but I can.
No, it's right on my way. Just when I come in, normally they're not even there yet,
Okay.
so it needs to be when I come in a little bit later.
Probably check around lunchtime to have the best
Probably, yeah,
results.
that's true.
Any questions on any of this? The next part of this is the Nash Zimmer Transportation Center, which comes out of the town's budget, I understand, Brian, right? So how has that been running this year? Has the library been able to be open? Have there been activities down there? What's happening?
Yeah,
I think-
definitely.
go
Oh,
for
I'm
it.
sorry, Ryan.
No, go for it. I was just gonna say, my reports from Leslie is that it's kind of back in pre-COVID like use, but Cynthia, go for it.
No, I think, yeah, Ryan's right. They have not done programming down there. That's one thing they have not brought back. The programming that they had there was, not as successful as what they normally have at the main branch. I think they tried to do a couple of different things, some game nights, things like that. So I'm not sure. I have a weekly call with Caitlin Epling at the library, who kind of runs downstairs. So I can check with her on the programming. We have done a few things down in that room, which have been really helpful for us. So
Okay. Any further questions on this? Then we'll move on, and from here, it looks like we get into LAS. Any comments on LAS?
no, there's the consistency of the Oaks residents is really, downstairs continues to be active in terms of transient parkers. Because we had some businesses close, the above the gate, we don't have people parking on the roof. So as we get more businesses and people get passes, that will probably be more full up there. But it's definitely since COVID, we have less people. It used to be sometimes hard to even find a place up on the roof, and that has changed.
All right. What do you need from us in regard to these financial statements? We need a motion to recommend them to the full board?
Yeah, I think that's what we normally do. So,
I'll make a motion to recommend the financials to the board.
All right, we need a second.
and we no longer have a quorum.
Should
So
we technically wait until there was a chat from Steve
Yeah,
that he would
Steve
try to
will
log
be
back in
back.
on the car?
Okay. All right, we'll wait for that. Wait for him to come back.
okay, sorry, I didn't get a chance to look at that.
All right. So then the next item is an update on the partnership strategic plan and downtown stores.
Yeah, so I can try to do a quick overview of a couple of the main items that the working groups have been doing, and Kathleen, Denise, and Josh and I. So Denise is working on scheduling a meeting with Colby and Rachel on the board, our students on the board, Kara Workman, and a few others in terms of continuing to bring student groups into the downtown to do performances. So we had the Husky Hour showcase, which was pretty successful. So that's one piece that came out of the Promotion Public Spaces group. We also, another piece is a potential art fair, which was funded through the ARPA funds that the council approved. And the last piece on that was Steve was going to be circling back with the Arts Advisory Committee, because they did a survey to see if an art fair is something that people are interested in doing. the other piece that, you know, and I'm sort of mixing downtown and overall Mansfield a little bit. Another piece is public art, which the council had funded as well. And I think is certainly Tony and Ryan are very involved with this, something that Counselor Osberger is very interested in. We talked about a little bit at our Mansfield Arts Roundtable that we had with the Cultural Coalition last week. So to sort of jumpstart some of this to be a little bit more process oriented, I'm going to draft a RFQ or an RFP for public art throughout the town. And I briefly talked to Ryan about that a couple of weeks ago. Here's Steve. We talked about the landscape architecture contract. Denise and I will be putting up window clings on some of the vacant or available spaces downtown. So they will have snowflakes, sort of a village scene. So we'll do the Nash Zimmer windows, and then we'll do windows on Wilbur Cross, Dog Lane, and Stores Road. So we weren't able to get all the art that we wanted. And so this is sort of a little bit of an interim piece until we get to some art. We have some potential art projects coming from the School of Fine Arts, and that's not finalized. So I don't want to go into too much detail, but there's some projects with one of the professors there that we might be able to do. So that'll help make things look more kind of vibrant than they do now.
Cynthia,
Yeah,
it's too late to do this, but during the Winter Art Open Studio Week, in some towns, a group of artists will be in the same location. You know, so if you go to one of the schools in Chaplin, there will be 30 artists. It would be interesting to see if that organization that runs the open studio would be interested in using Nash Zimmer for a group of artists to be together, rather than to just be in their own homes.
yeah, that's a great idea. Do they do something this spring also, or am I thinking that's something else?
There was something earlier this year, but I don't remember what it was. But this fall Christmas buying thing, if there is a location where there are a number of people together, I think it's much better. Those people have got to do better because they have a sort of captive audience, and if we put it downtown in particular, that should attract a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. And I think this sort of this round table that we had last week had a lot of artists. I had 2 people from the Arts Advisory Committee, and two of the things that came out were collaboration, communication, and location for art. So the communication piece, I think if we can get some sort of listserv going or something so that we all know what's going on, and we could have sort of jumped on the open studios, you know, before the fact.
Yeah, I think they start planning in the spring, so
Okay.
the list is put together very early anyway.
All right. We'll try to put that on our radar.
Steve, while you're with us,
Yeah.
we've got a motion on the floor to recommend the financials to the full board, and I haven't called for the vote, but the motion is still on the floor. You make a necessary quorum. Are you ready to vote on this?
I am. Do you need a second?
Yes.
I will second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor of recommending the financials to the full board, please say aye.
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 Okay. Unanimous. There we go. Now,
All right.
please continue.
Let's see. In terms of signage, so, you know, our consultant team Merge has been working, this is the town's consultant working on a signage plan townwide. We are meeting with them for 2 days on November 30th and December 1st to do some field checking of the location of the signs. So the team, when they were here a couple of months ago, they went out in the field. So this is basically Derek Delai, Jennifer Kaufman from the town, Kathleen and myself. And Margaret's been involved as well, and Ryan's been involved in some of the meetings a bit ago. So we're gonna do some field checking on locations and hopefully get the plan done, I hope, by the end of the calendar year, if not early 2023. So they're very focused on the directional signage. The other piece that they need to do are the landmark signs. So in front of the town hall, you know, in front of the senior center, MCC, library, et cetera, So
Can
they
I
have
make,
the,
can I make a suggestion based on experience?
yes,
The school building committee nearly undid the design of the signs. So I don't know whether it's a good thing to bring these proposals before citizens groups because everybody's got their own ideas, or a bad thing. But just as an alert, when you bring them to boards, everybody's going to have a say, and good luck.
so we did do that already. So in the spring, we did bring it in front of the original stakeholder group and then some other groups. So the school building committee was represented in those meetings and the school superintendent at the time.
Didn't help.
Yeah. So let's see. Winter Welcome is December 3rd, 4:30 to 6 downtown. And we're doing heavy promotion of that. The flyers and posters went out.
I believe it's actually 4 to 6:30,
What did I say? I'm sorry. You're right.
4:30 to
I'm
6.
sorry, Josh. Thank you. 4 to
You
6:30.
said that at the board meeting too, and it's 4 to 6:30.
My bad.
Ryan asked me about whether or not I thought we ought to have Christmas trees on the square.
Well, time out. Let me clarify this. I'm not gonna, excuse me, bring any names into it, but a member of the town council approached me because he knew we were doing expanded lighting. We've added electrical supply in a large number of street lamps, and so some of that's already actually being hung. So you're going to start seeing that play out kind of in real time now. And then so for the downtown and Mansfield Center Village, so basically by 89 and 195. So I had a council member reach out to me and say, basically, for what it's worth, you know, I think it could be, but basically, I think it could be a lot of fun for the downtown if we had a big prominent tree in the square. So I was relaying that feedback to the mayor, that I did receive that feedback. I wasn't, yeah, that's kind of where that's at.
Well,
So you're not endorsing a religion, Ryan, through the
Well,
town?
no, what, and this person, excuse me, I don't think was either. It would be a tree, which obviously has certain meaning, I guess you could say, but the way it would be lit and adorned, I'm trying to relay the feedback here, would be of, you know, all of the above, all faiths, all everything. So aside from the fact that the tree itself, admittedly, you know, connotes a certain thing, it would not be, is festoon the right word? That again, this is the feedback that I received. So that's, so
I
I
mean,
did-
if we're having a discussion about it, I would say, I would hope that our town recognizes that we have holidays for town residents all year long. And if we're just putting a symbol in a time of December when there is a holiday that takes place, but not then recognizing other ones, I'm not a big fan of it, and I think it's loaded. So that's my 2 cents, but you know, I recognize we live in a Judeo-Christian world.
The other thing was like logistically, given the timeline, I don't think anything would have been happening this year anyway, because it was a suggestion that kind of came, you know. So anyway, that the feedback was relayed to the mayor. The plan for this year was expanded lighting. We have invested in that. It'll be, you you know, soft white light that's basically on display from late November, early December through March when the college basketball playoff. So it's kind of more of a true winter season kind of
Hmm.
illumination. Anyway, so that was the feedback.
So I will say, so Denise and I worked in coordination with the chair of the Human Rights Commission. So we have reached out to several groups, especially from UConn. We've reached out to NAACP, a Muslim group on campus. Some we've heard back from, some we haven't, related to kind of our tree contest, which, you know, if you were here last year, you saw it was generally, you know, one was all aquatics. It was very cool. Fire, you know, department did that. Plus, and then people will have tables. So I know NAACP and Hillel will be having community display tables. So I did want to just mention that in terms of outreach that we have done to a variety of groups.
Maybe one of the things we ought to think about is decorating for other holidays. Or holding celebrations for other holidays.
Yep.
I mean, I'll tell you, Ramadan is a month long and I don't think this town recognizes any of it. So it's charged, right? I mean, you can't ignore the fact that it's paired during December. It's not like we put trees up any other time of year. And so that's where I feel like I'm a big separation of church and state kind of person. So, and I know that many people view Christmas as secular, but those of us who are outside of that circle don't view it as secular. So I just think it's not, you know, I love the idea of lights from November to March. It's great, you know, but it's, you know, and we can't call them holiday trees because there's no such other thing as a holiday tree. But I'm sorry, I'm gonna I'll get off my soapbox.
No, I think it's an important soapbox to be on because one of the things we talk about as a community is to be a welcoming community. And this is a part of our community that has been growing fairly rapidly, but totally, you know, almost totally unacknowledged. So it might be interesting to really we do winter welcome and Santa Claus is there. There's no question about that. I mean, there's nobody else who who takes wishes from little kids and gives gifts to them that I'm aware of. I mean, there are different Santa Clauses all over Europe, but there's, it's basically tied to Christianity by the very name. So it would be interesting to see if there were other groups who would like to use the square for religious celebration and awareness, you know, at other times of the year. And what would you do if you celebrated a Ramadan surrounded by restaurants?
Well, you would break fast, right? Or you would celebrate Eid, but I just think you get down a road, then it's complicated. And is it I guess it's a public space, it's a town space to some extent. Do we want to be in the business of even showcasing anything religious? And I'll put that to the town council, you know.
Yeah. Well, my approach would be more is better rather than getting rid of all of it because.
Well, right. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's a question of, and I appreciate that it's not, there's a lot to unpack in the discussion and logistics alone is a challenge, but do you want to be inclusive of everything or exclusive of everything? You know?
Yeah. Or do you save it for wherever
I'm saying
the
as a town.
houses of worship that
No, I
it,
understand what you're saying, that it doesn't
Yeah.
mean like we're saying it's like a
Yeah.
town ordinance, right. It's
because
what
you're not going to
doing.
put a nativity scene. You have some limits of what you're going to do.
Right.
So what other, because there's an obvious, right, piece, and this tree is so controversial. I don't know. But it is an interesting idea that you know, some of the holidays, right, are floating. They're not December centric. So you're gonna get Ramadan sometime when there are no students at UConn. And you're gonna get, you know, and that's not alone, right? There are other holidays. Like there's a Persian community in this town. Do we want to take up the Persian New Year? Do we, you know, how many things do we want to invite, or is it up to the critical masses to do it?
Well, I
You
think
know, our role really is outside of the events that we have the staff capacity to do is for people to reserve the square. And that's where the sort of this larger question is probably outside the purview of the downtown partnership.
Yeah,
but we can't discriminate against political opinions, and we can't discriminate against religious ones either. So I think we could encourage people who have religious celebrations to use the square.
Was that something to sort of talk about offline at some point?
well, maybe that is something the Human Rights Commission solicits people and lets them know that this space is available.
Yeah,
And maybe it's more of a campaign of awareness and
yeah, we can work with them on that. I think they know now based on our conversation with them over the last couple of months. But we can get that word out to the commission.
Okay. All right, it's an interesting concern. It's a
Yeah.
concern that has been bothering me for a while. I've always been a little nervous about the Santa Claus business, but Santa Claus is such an important element for a majority of our population. It's hard to figure out how to avoid it. In a way, the town square, well, I've read the cases, and with this court, who knows where we're going to go on this one. We may be mandated to be Judeo-Christian in the next couple of years if something doesn't happen. Anyway, okay, that was, I didn't mean to stir up a hornet's nest, but I'm glad you're here, Shameen, to have this discussion because it's very helpful. You know, when I was growing up in elementary school, the Second World War was still very fresh, and the Christmas tree was a German Christmas celebration. There were parents who would weep if their kids came home and said, "Let's have a Christmas tree." So, but that generation is gone, you know, so.
You want me to just wrap up real quick with this, Tony, or?
Sure.
Okay. So one of the other things that we've done, I think since the last meeting is we had another social with our downtown businesses. This one we had at the Ballard. And we will have our last one of the year, at the Barnes and Noble location on campus. And you should have all gotten the invite from Kathleen this morning. I think it was this morning. So if you can attend on December 8th, that would be great. Again, this is a member benefit, but we've also reached out to our property owners downtown and our businesses to include them as well. And then with respect to downtown stores, I still keep hearing that Chase Bank is going to open this month. I'm thinking it's probably going to be December, but they're moving ahead. They have their signage up. Jefferson Fry opened since our last meeting, and then Bagel Zone relocated from Holiday Mall into University Plaza. So that was nice to see that, you know, with the standard going in up at that location, that some of the businesses have stayed in Mansfield, which is always encouraging. And I
What
think
happened to Holiday Mall, Holiday Liquor Store?
I don't know if they're gonna go. I thought I heard, I don't know, Steve, do you know? I thought I heard maybe they're going to go dark for a while and then come back in the new project, or
That's what I heard too.
And what about the lawyers, Kelly Spellacy?
They've been out for a while.
Okay,
I don't know if Dennis Poitras, if what he's doing, Steve might also know.
He's on a multi-year retirement.
Okay.
So he's been trying to retire for a number of years. So I think he's still wrapping things up, but he's working from home right now.
so that building is essentially empty, the house?
Yes, yeah, all the buildings across the street are 100% empty.
And is Kelly Spellacy gonna relocate in stores?
I think they've been out of there for quite a while. I don't know that they left because of this. I think they were out before this.
Yeah, they were. So remember Bonnie Kamiga, who was on our board
Yeah.
so yeah, they've been out, as Steve said, for a couple of years.
Couple of years, wow.
I know, time flies.
I don't go up there often enough. So the only business that's still in business, no, both Wykert and Bagel Zone has stayed in Mansfield.
Yes.
But the car repair place, the guy retired. That's D&D Auto. And Bagel, I can't think of anybody else that's up there. Who's in the back?
Well, a lot of those folks weren't there anymore. There were a couple though, and I don't know where all of them have gone. I know the Canine place left. I feel like they might have gone to Coventry. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Borgita and company moved into our building. They're across the street now.
Oh, they did, Steve? Oh, good. Okay.
All right. Okay, anything else, Cynthia?
I don't think so, unless anybody has any questions.
Anybody?
Please find us restaurants to go to in Store Center.
Well, I
Nice.
went to one in Avon, just, I'm doing what I can on my free time. I was in Avon with my husband and we went to the Market Kitchen and Bar, which is, I thought it was really great. So they are a hospitality group. They have many of their restaurants in Western Connecticut. They're opening one in Canton, right near Avon. I did talk to the manager and I forwarded on information to one of our property owners. So they said they were going to follow up. I'd be surprised, honestly, if they hadn't reached out to them already, but we never exactly know. So they're working on it.
Okay. I won't say anything about my cooking store idea again, but
No, they've definitely, hopefully heard that as well. So
all right. The next item on our agenda is a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Shamim. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Steve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Bye-bye.
And we'll see you when everybody gets back.
Take care.
right, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.